Good morning. It is July 26th. Time for another update on the garden. I am getting out here very early today. It's not even 7 o'clock, but because by the time it gets to be about 10 a.m., it's supposed to be almost 100 degrees in Minnesota. So we're doing a really early morning tour here. So let's see what's changed since the last time. We got a ton of rain last night, which I am super thankful for because a lot of my plants here, just like this basil, really needed it. We haven't really had rain in a long time. I want to say it's been like 2 weeks. I've been out trying to water my garden. So you can see here my herbs are really a lot happier, especially the sage has got a little more pep in its step now. And here you can see just in my daughter's toy, look how much rain we got last night. That's a good solid 1 to 2 inches deep in there. So very thankful. Here is my lemon tree. I am super excited about this because we've got buds on it and there's lots of little buds coming in too. So you can see those here. And then we have some that are even blooming up here. Just tons of buds on it. I mentioned in a former video that when it gets a little chillier out in the evenings, that's when they start to bloom. So very cool, very interested to see what happens there. Never used a lemon before, so we'll see. This is the grapevine that we're just using. I up-potted this from this little pot here to this bigger pot, so hopefully that will give it some more room to grow. So let's head out to the main garden. You can see my daughter's little parking lot here. They like to drive those little cars throughout the yard. Let's see what we've got out here. So I pulled a bunch of my potato plants out. A lot of them were totally dead, and that's just due to some heat. These ones are mostly dead, so I'm just giving them a little bit longer to actually hopefully bulk up those tubers in the bottom. But look at all these yellow flowers on these pumpkins and these squash. Things are about to kick off in a major way here, I think, for those. So here, this is a butternut in the front. See what we can find. There's a couple at the bottom there. There's another little one in there. I think there were some bigger ones on the back side. Let's go check the back side out. Oh yeah, look. Got a couple real big ones starting in there. So now what I got to do is take these ends as they start forming and start training them up my trellis. And I'm just going to do that by threading them through so that they start to grow in that direction. I'm trying not to put too much tension on the vine itself, but if I can get it started, usually it'll stay for me. So we'll just give it that little nudge. So it looks like we're going to have some nice butternuts this year, which I love. This beast over here, one of my rescue plants that turned into just this huge pumpkin plant, has tons of fruit on it. Here's one down here. I know there's another couple in here. So I'm real excited about these. I think this actually might be one of those sugar pumpkin plants, which would be really exciting because I really want to try making pumpkin pie for my own pumpkins. So this is one plant, and I've just shown you 4 or 5 fruits, but there's just tons. If I kind of pull back these leaves, you can see there's just a whole bunch in there that are happening, and even more flowers back this way. So even all the way to the end, here's a little baby. So the pumpkin is doing really well. This is one of my zucchini. You can see some more zucchini on there. It's just about ready to be picked. These are our celery. I did come out. I had 5 celery plants. I picked one of them. So here are the bigger ones. And here's the one I picked. Well, I didn't pick it. I cut it. And you'll see it's starting to regrow from the center. So that's what I wanted to see how that would go. That's kind of cool. It's regrowing. So I might cut a couple more of these and put them in the freezer to use for things like chicken pot pie or soups, and then let the fresh stuff regrow. And this is my cucumber. It's the National Pickling Cucumber. It's looking kind of sad because I think it's got a little bit of a disease going on. I've been battling that all year, but we're just rolling with it, trying to get rid of the diseased leaves as we can to try to protect the plant. But we've gotten several pickles. I shouldn't say pickles. That's what we use it for, but we've gotten several cucumbers off of this plant already. We've got several more here you can see. These are going to be ready for making pickles this afternoon. So I'll get out here and pick those. But even though it's kind of looking a little diseased, we've had no problem getting pickles off of it. So I guess can't complain. In the back here, we've got the bean trellis. And again, lots and lots of flowers on these. These are those purple, I think they're called Burgundy Queen beans. And these are supposed to be bush beans, but you can see that they are climbing all over my trellis. So not sure what happened there, but that's okay. I'll take whatever beans I can get. And I was just out here yesterday picking a bunch, so you don't see a ton on there, but lots of little ones still forming. So we're still getting good production out of those. Oh my goodness, here's another pumpkin that I put back here. Not sure exactly what kind this is, but as you can see, we're getting pumpkins out of it and it's climbing up my fence. So, I mean, what better way for a pumpkin to grow, right? I think these are gonna be more like field pumpkins, but carving pumpkins, I should say. Here's our cantaloupe. These are the Hale's Best. And you can see there's just tons of them on here. They're all pretty small. I did pick one yesterday and cut it up. It looked good, like the seeds were totally mature on the inside, but it wasn't super sweet. So I think we're gonna let them just mature a bit longer than that first one for the next. And for the watermelon plants, I've actually picked 3 already. These are those sugar babies, which only get about the size of a large grapefruit, I would say, maybe a little bit larger. So a little bigger than this one. And they're really sweet and delicious, just that they're kind of small. So they work nice for this trellis, but I think next year I might do a few more like Dixie Queens or something that's a bigger variety. On the pea trellis, we pulled some of these peas out and I planted some beans, and you can see those are starting to come up. So getting a fresh crop of beans just in this little area right here to climb up the trellis. And then just under these peas that are pretty much done, they're coming out with a few here and there. Like here's one. And they're still good. So good. But I planted a few more peas in here so that they can kind of grow up as I cut these ones down. So looking forward to seeing more there. Then here we've got our big line of tomatoes. So lots of tomatoes starting to ripen here. Look at this big cluster is already going to blush and get ready here in just the next couple days. Lots of Roma tomatoes coming on. I've got a few grape tomato plants here. And I have been picking these like crazy. I bet I've got about 2 quarts of cherry tomatoes inside right now. So just a ton of fruit on these tomato plants and getting ready to make a plan for making some tomato sauce. And I think this year I'm just going to make regular tomato sauce and then let those tomato sauces be used to create other things like spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce. So these are looking great. I've got just a ton of cherry tomatoes. So looking good. These are my carrots. All that rain kind of knocked them down a little bit, but they're starting to grow quite nicely. I'd say they're about halfway as big as I'd like them to be, so we're letting them hang out for a little longer. And then right down this area here in the middle, these are all peppers. So these are those banana peppers. Lots more growing on there and more flowers. More jalapenos. These are a bell pepper. Lots of jalapenos on this one. And the peppers are getting kind of big too, so they're almost to the point of starting to ripen. So I'm watching for that. Put these big ones down at the bottom down there. So just not quite ready yet. And here is that cayenne pepper. So we're waiting for these to turn red. So some more of the Blaze bell peppers here. Ooh, look at how big this one at the bottom is. Hold on. You see that? So they're starting to get big. Here's the poblanos. I picked a few off of here just to try, but you can see they're getting really big too. So peppers are doing well this year. Oh, look, there's another cucumber. You have to come out here and pick soon. Back here, these are the broccoli. They're pretty much totally done now. I've been picking a few little pieces off here and there, but you can see that they are starting to come up and actually bolt, which means they're going straight up and they're flowering. So probably going to come in here and chop these down here pretty soon. There's only one plant, this guy over here, who has his first head still forming. So that one will leave, but we'll probably come in and get rid of the rest of these ones here soon. Got our beets back here. I've actually picked a few beets. They're about, I'd say golf ball, or a little bit, no, larger than a golf ball, but smaller beets, just for baby beets. They've been really tasty. Just picking them basically to allow others to grow in their area so that they can get bigger. Here's another pumpkin volunteer over here. You see a little fruit down there. And then over here, we have our one cucumber that made it that we didn't think it would. The little cucumber that could, if you would. So here's just a little guy over here. He's got one little fruit on him down here. So that's more of a slicer. And woofta, it smells like pickles over here. There's so much dill. It's all growing very large, and because of the rain, it's all knocked down right now. And you can see here too, so dill has these flowers that form, and then those flowers turn into these like little pods. And once they turn into pods and dry up, then that becomes the seed. So we'll have lots of dill seed, hopefully. Now, I don't really need it, but maybe use it for seasonings. Oh, it looks like some of my hollyhocks even got knocked down by the amount of rain. So I'm so grateful for that, all that rain we got. We really needed it. And we've got our parsnips over here that are flowering that we're looking for those seeds from. These are still doing really well. Another cherry tomato here. I actually think this one's a grape tomato. Yeah, grape tomato. Ooh, mosquitoes are starting to come out. That's one thing about Minnesota. You always have mosquitoes. And down this center portion here, this is where I had my spinach on the left, and you can see some I've left to bolt, and my little gem lettuce on the right. I put some carrots in here, and you can see they're starting to come up. So that's really exciting because I want to see more in-ground carrots this year. Try to get these to stay off of them so they can get some sun. But look, there's little guys in there, so that's exciting. And then there's this corn. It has gotten so tall. Some of those ones at the end right down here, these ones, they're like 8 feet, 9 feet tall. Look at, and then there's this one over here. I bet that one's 10 feet tall. It's as tall as my ceiling. It's crazy. And we've got just tons of ears forming on them. And they're all getting pretty big, I think. It's probably the most successful corn I've grown in a while. Here's another real big, I think big one anyway. So maybe a couple weeks more and we'll be picking those off. And then here's just our second patch of carrots. These ones are growing a bit better and faster because they're not as densely sowed as the ones I showed you before. Haven't had to thin them so much. So we'll just have some more carrots there. We use a lot of carrots at our house, so that's all right. So there is the tour of the garden for July 26th. Look at my little froggy friend down here. Whoop, there he goes. That's what my girls call him, a froggy friend. I wanted to leave you with just one parting thing. Look at these beautiful echinacea. Got lots of those blooming up here. There's a fuchsia one, and then one that's more of like an orangey on the outside and a fuchsia in the middle. So these are just beautiful. I love echinacea. I'm very hopeful that these bloom even more the rest of this year. Thanks again for joining me. and we'll see you next time we do an update.